I will say though that now that you're here talking about being scared, there is really nothing scary about following your heart. There is something very scary about not following your heart.
Hi, and welcome to the Innovative Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Isolde Trachtenberg. On the show, you get my conversations with peak-performing thought leaders, creatives, and entrepreneurs. We explore how you can innovate through creativity, compassion, and collaboration. I believe that innovation combined with compassion and creative thinking can save the world, and I aim to bring you ways you can do it too. If you're enjoying the show, I'd be super grateful if you could support it by buying me a cup of coffee. You can buy me a cuppa at buymeacoffee.com/IsoldeT. And now, let's get on with the show. Hey there, and welcome to the Innovative Mindset Podcast. My name is Isolde Trachtenberg. I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm honored and happy to have this week's guest. She's amazing. You're going to love her. Jeanine Boubli is a mixed media artist and creator of the ethical and environmentally conscious lifestyle apparel brand Red Tail Moon. So you know I love her, and you know you're going to love her too. She strives to create awareness and respect for all animals, Mother Nature, and soulful connection through her creative work. Red Tail Moon's designs are inspired by animals she knows as well. She's a volunteer animal caregiver at a local sanctuary, but she also uses her heart and her imagination to create these incredible designs. She loves spending time outdoors, taking long walks by the water, and writing poetry. Jeanine, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm honored and thrilled to talk to you about your ethical stance on what you do and the artistic drive that helps you help the animals of the world. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy for this opportunity to share. Thank you so much, Isolde.
I'm so excited. Anybody who knows me for any length of time goes, yeah, she's an outspoken vegan. She's plant-powered, blah, blah, blah. Right. I'm pretty far out with that. So the question I have for anybody I talk to about sort of being ethical as far as how you interact with the rest of the living world is what got you started? What was the turning point where you said, I'm going to choose a path like this?
Well, I don't know that I consciously chose it. I feel like it chose itself through, my soul, if you will. I started, I was vegetarian for years, and I started volunteering as, an animal caregiver at a local sanctuary. That happened shortly after having two challenging years in my life. My father was sick. I moved out from the city. I came out to Long Island to help him. I didn't realize how much that affected me long term. Mm-hmm. And so after the house was sold and I was like, okay, where am I gonna, I'm not going back to Manhattan right now. And my life was kind of uprooted in a sense, my heart was, and yet it also provided like an open space, like a big, vast bit of land, in my future, because I didn't really know which way I was going to go with my future. And what happened was a neighbor where I moved to, a neighbor said to me one day, she saw how I was with her dog. She said, Jeanine, you love animals so much, you would love this place. And, they've got a cow and they've got goats and sheep and la, la, la. And I said, oh, well, I grew up here years ago. I never heard of it. And so the next day I was Googling, and I've been volunteering there ever since. Wow. And so that was, this experience that's still part of my life and will always be a part of my life because it's my heart, really opened up my heart, healed my heart, calmed my mind, and inspired me to create art again. Just being with the animals in their environment. I did not want to be with people at that time. Now I'm fine now, but I just needed the quiet and just to be in an environment. Now, all of the animals are loved. They're not, they're fortunate. They're loved and they're cared for, and to be with them and witness their friendship and their wisdom, and when one of them is sick and how, the other ones are there for them. It's just really, really beautiful. And so that's what started to inspire me to go ahead and use them as the subject matter for artwork, because once again, I was kind of reborn, if you will. Instead, they opened my heart, and if my heart's open, then I wanted to create again. Being creative, it has always been inside me, but I just kind of closed up like a closed fist. But then it was them. It was being with them and their love and their sweetness that opened that part of me up again. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. It's wonderful and it's inspiring. And I know other people who have that sort of connection and realize its worth. And you took that connection and you decided to work on behalf of these wonderful critters, these wonderful beings we share the planet with. When you started that process of like, okay, I'm inspired by this and I'm going to do it.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about what happened inside you that first time you sat down, or maybe you weren't sitting. I don't know what your process is. The first time you went, okay, that's it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to create. Was it a design?
Yes.
What was the thing that and
right.
how was your mind and your heart? Where were they when you were doing it?
Oh, well, this is a bit of a story, but I'll tell you. So we had an Adobe user group on Long Island. I was the co-manager of the group. And the manager, Sharon, she said to me one day, I was at her house, and I remember exactly where we are now because you brought me back there. And she said, I would love to get our members more involved. Can you think of anything? And I wasn't thinking, I was just responding, when things just come out of your mouth. And I said, well, we have so many photographers in this group. Why don't we have them take some pictures? Now there's pictures of textures. There's textures in everything. But I said, why don't we have them take some pictures of textures and then apply those textures to another image and share? And she said, great idea. Can you come up with something? I said, sure. So lo and behold, the next day, I already knew that I wanted to use something that was current. I am a creative person. There's many things that they can create, but I wanted to create something that was current in my life, something that really meant a lot to me, and that's the animals, something from my heart. So I said, okay, I'll go look through some pictures, of the kids. And I took a picture of Salt. She is a white sheep. And then, just like when somebody's cooking and they don't measure, it was kind of like, somebody's painting and they're splattering the paint. I was taking some other images, like even a blurred image of some branches, if you will. I did not know what I was going to create. I was just gathering material, whatever felt something, oh, I'll put this in a layer. Oh, I'll put this in a layer. And then maybe it must have been almost 8 or 9 hours afterwards, just zoning with Pandora. I created this fine art piece with Salt, and I shared it with her. She goes, oh my God, I love this. This is great. Well, what happened was, we had this, I couldn't show the process to the people, to our members, because it was a creative process. I was zoning, it wasn't just apply a filter and, oh, it looks like this, or apply. No, this was, masking and taking out and putting in and just, create creative bliss, if you will. And it was like a co-creation. And one thing led to another. And I was a member of Long Island Visual Professionals, a lot of creative people. And a woman, Linda, from the Huntington Arts Council, came one night, and she spoke about there was an art show they were going to have, a juried art show. And I had not entered a show in a long time. My creativity, like when my father was sick, I wasn't creative. Afterwards, I wasn't creative until I was awakened, if you will, with the animals' love, and had my groove back. My mother had passed, years before. So there was another time when I kind of closed up in that way. And it all goes into the creative, whatever we create though, whatever, even the parts, the times when we close up, that's also in there. And that's important too. that comes along. So basically she said, we are going to have, we have this art show coming up, and I wanted to share if anybody's interested. It's about, you can have photographs, but they need to be enhanced digitally or any kind of digital art, la 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 la. And it was like somebody was tapping me on the thigh. Jeanine, you've got to do your art. You've got to do your art. You've got to, you've got to do this now. It was talking straight to she was like, I felt like she was talking directly to my ears, amplified. And so I said to her afterwards, oh, I would really like to, get some more information. I'd like to enter the show. And so she said, great. Do you have a business card? Well, lo and behold, I had created a square business card with Salt's picture, that fine art piece from the Adobe User Group program, from that project. And she looked at Salt's picture and she said, oh my God, I love this. This is great. You should enter this. Well, I entered Salt. Salt ended up winning first place. And that was the beginning of, okay, the universe is like, go, go, go. Right. Go with, and so that took, I don't want to take too much time talking about it, because then there was a series of different things. Like I created a line of note cards. And then one day this woman said, oh yes, I love these pictures. They're nice. And I thought to myself, no. These are not pictures. These are living beings. They might be a nice, there might be a nice picture. Okay, yes, I could say yes to that. But no, there's so much more to them. And so one night before I had an opportunity to share a table at a local farmer's market, the words and kept flying out of my fingers. I said, no, I've got to go ahead and share more. And then I cut up some paper, put them in a sleeve so that people would see, okay, this might be a nice picture, and there's a nice animal, la, la, la. But there's so much more. And then they would turn over the card and read what I had to share. And I saw it right with my eyes. Some people resonated more with the words than they did with the animal, which was, a personal connection. So however somebody's going to feel a personal connection, whether it's the words or whether it's the images, that's the whole intention. A personal connection makes things more meaningful to us. So therefore we can share in a different way, or maybe, change certain choices in our life so that we don't cause any harm not unknowingly, but we can change, we can change and make our world a more compassionate place for all living beings. And there's one more thing along the line of how, there's it's almost like a spider web, a divine weaving of interrelated synchronistic happenings or symbols, or meet somebody. I ended up having I didn't have red tail moon at this time. I ended up having some of my prints at a local nature preserve. And there wasn't a lot of traffic. People were there only on the weekends, sometime a few hours, but it didn't make a difference. I knew that it was up to me to just show up and share. And whatever, if one person sees something and they relate to it and it makes them open up their heart, or they enjoy it, or they might see something in a different way, then that's okay. If a million people see it, same thing. It doesn't, it's about going ahead and showing up and putting it out there. And one day the woman said, I need a bio from you so I can put it with your work. And initially I kind of felt, like a child or a teenager. Oh, I don't want to fill out that form, right? I felt that conditioned response. Like, oh God, a bio. Oh, then I thought, for God's sakes, Jeanine, get over yourself. This is your bio. You can write whatever you want. And so I did, and the words started flying out of my hands once I gave myself that freedom and the, respect. Permission. Yes, permission. And the words flew out of my hands, and instinctively, or maybe it wasn't instinctively, it was like something that was tapping on my shoulder, but it wasn't a physical tap. Intuitively, something said, hey, go ahead and put a picture of one of the kids in the bio. So I looked, and then I just went ahead and I put on Pepper. She's a black sheep. She's a very beautiful girl. I put her picture into the bio, And then I wrote the bio, and then I kept hearing the words over and over again. And I will just read the very last part of the bio, and then we can like, because I know I'm talking a lot.
No. This is
A
great. This is
oh
great.
God, oh thank you. This has been quite a journey. So I didn't know I was going to have an apparel line. I just, I didn't know any of these things. I just knew that you know what I knew more than anything? I knew who I loved, and I love the animals, and love is the strongest. So at the very end of the bio, I wrote, this is by Pepper's picture, be someone who cares. Be someone who shares compassion for all living beings. If your heart is not open, open it. You may be in for a joyous surprise. I am no different than you. I love my friends. I cherish a safe home, a sound sleep, the music of the birds. Look at me. And then the equal sign on the upper right of the keyboard, I swear, was popping out of the keyboard. Look at me. The words are flying out of my hand. Look at me. Boom. Equal sign. See yourself. And that was it. And then I knew, I knew that was like everything in that little bit. And I said, okay, good. Here's her bio. And then I kept hearing those words over and over again, Isolde. I would sleep. I'd wake up, tossing and turning. Look at me, see yourself. I go ahead, go for a walk. Look at me, see yourself. In the shower, driving. I was like, okay. I have my hands open, like when somebody's very expressive with her talking. I'm like, okay, all right, I got it. I'll create a product. And that was the beginning of knowing that I needed something that wasn't but something additional than a print on a wall that maybe 5 people will see it or 50 people will see it. I needed something that was going to be seen so that they were seen the way I was fortunate to see them and know them. Yeah.
I love that so much. And I love that statement. Look at me, see yourself. So I guess the question is, do you have clothing lines with pictures of some of these beautiful?
Yes.
And
yes.
Do you have the quote underneath?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yay. Okay, I need them.
Yes.
I need them.
So I have Pepper. Pepper was my first, and Pepper's picture, and it says, be someone who cares, be someone who shares compassion for all living beings. And on the bottom, look at me, see yourself. And I put my TM symbol there too.
I love it. That is
Yeah?
So I'm going to max out my credit card at the Tail Moon. I can tell. So here's the thing. You must have faced challenges and opposition to doing something like this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And so I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about what those challenges were and how you navigated them, because it's such an important process to go through, and your wisdom can really help someone else who's going, I want to do this, I want to live a more compassionate life, and I want to put my money where my mouth is,
right?
But I'm scared. So if you could talk a little bit about the challenges of that, and also about your strategy, how you did it, I would love to hear it.
Sure. I don't know that I had a strategy in my head. Like I got like an outline, I'll do this and then I'll do this and I'll have a business plan.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't, that's not really my strong point. I will say though that now that you're here talking about being scared, there is really nothing scary about following your heart. There is something very scary about not following your heart. And if I did not follow my heart, and say after my father passed, and then I healed and I started volunteering and I worked for XYZ company, and and I was there from 7 a.m, from commuting or whatever, till if I did not go ahead and honor my art and took the safer, more supposedly reliable, dependable income coming in path, I would have lost myself, because for years I've always wanted to do something with my creativity. I was always creative. I always believed in it. And it has not, I know, and I love my parents, and it has nothing to do with anything they did. It's just, I was brought up, you go ahead, get a job, you work up the corporate ladder,
Mm-hmm.
you make the money or you make the do whatever, and then you do what you love when you have time, or it's just, they always supported my creativity, they did. It's just that maybe it wasn't as safe, and the parent wants a child to be safe, which means pay your rent, take care of your responsibilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And go on a certain path. But no, sometimes we just all have to follow our own paths. And so I would say that the most scary thing is not following something that's deep inside of somebody. That's what really has kept me, like, that it means everything. I will say that, resources, obviously finances and things, it does cost money, it does take time, there's trial and error. I started off with a print on demand company, and then if the shirts were not organic cotton. And for some reason, when somebody said to me, well, if you're all about, with an kind of like an attitude, well, if you're all about the environment, what about organic cotton? No, 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 no. And I said, well, that's what I really wanted. And this woman from like SBA, Small Business Administration, she said, well, then why aren't you doing it? I said, because I can't find it. Now it's a couple of years later, it's more readily available, but still it's not as available. If somebody wants to do print on demand, which I'm not doing, everything's custom right now. It is more expensive. And yeah, so there's like, I've learned a lot of things. I don't know that I've made it easier for myself with some of my choices. I think some of like if I just went ahead and picked a plain cotton shirt and did it the certain way and didn't really care about the environment or whatever, or did this or that, because cotton, it's not that cotton so whatever, I'm not saying about cotton, but if I went ahead and maybe did what seemingly was a simpler way,
Mm-hmm.
simpler,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it would have really been a mirror of my values at the deepest level. And I was like, you know what? I'm not a kid. I've got to, not even if I was young though, I wanted to stay true to myself and true to the product,
Mm-hmm.
because it's more than a product. It's heart first, a product second.
And you know what's interesting talking to you about what you just said is that it's evident in talking with you for even just a few minutes. It's evident. It's evident that you put your heart first into your product. And I think, this is going to sound kind of calculating, and that's not really what I mean, but I think people resonate with that, and the people who need to be your customers will find you because they're looking for the same thing,
Right,
They're
right.
looking for that same thing. And so the question then becomes for me, how do you get the word out? I mean, yes, you're on this podcast, and I'm glad to get the word out to the
Right.
people who are listening, but how do you get the word out that you have a heart-centered business that is all about, supporting and being kind and compassionate to the beings we share the planet with, to the other
Right.
animals on the planet? What do you do, and how does it work for you?
Well, I honestly, I need to do more. I
Mm,
do, I do need to do more. We were, because, and it's not a cop out because of COVID, but it was always nice to maybe be involved with pop-ups. We were involved in a couple of pop-ups. This way I could speak directly to the people, whoever was coming by, and share some of the story, and or even like just to witness people's reactions and hear what they had to say and hear their experiences with different either animals or life or what they resonated with, and have them share. I do miss that. We were in 3 fashion shows. We were at a vegan fashion show, and
cool.
yeah. I can remember driving to Atlantic City, and then it was like such an exciting thing because it was my first fashion show, and I had my flip-flops on, and my hair was like a mess, but I had the products, and I ended up having, children models, and, male models, and, women models, and it was just such a wonderful opportunity. And I remember that at the end of like all the different designers' clothing, when they're presenting them, the founders or whoever created the clothing, like me and the other people and I, they needed to go, behind the models, and everybody walks down like this little runway and they clap their hands and whatever. And I still have my flip flops on. I mean, I had been driving since like 5 a.m. and 4 a.m, but I didn't care because, when you're following your heart, it's like, all right, this is an opportunity. All systems go. Who cares? There's no time to care about that. You just want to make sure that, the kids they like their shirt, like it fits right, and they understand who they're representing. It's not just a shirt. It's a heart and a soul. They know about the animals beforehand, and they understand the words behind them if they're wearing something with words. So the fashion show, and then there was one at National Geographic. So I'm just veering off to the side for a second because that was a good opportunity to get in front of people. It was a sustainable fashion show at National Geographic. And
down in DC?
No, in Manhattan, Times Square.
Okay.
Yep, right in Times Square. That was a big deal and very exciting. And Kat, who put it together, an amazing woman. And she actually gave me one child model that I didn't know I was going to be able to have a child. But wouldn't you know, as the universe would have it, I had a perfect shirt. Actually, he wore salt shirt, the fine art piece of salt, in his size at home so I could bring it to the fashion show like the next day. It was just the way everything worked. And that was a wonderful opportunity to get in front of people who might not all be for the, who that might not love animals, or might love animals but not love all animals, or maybe they love all animals and they have never known a sheep personally, or a rooster, or a goat, and there was this big huge wall, and the pictures of the kids were blown up on this wall, so there was no way that somebody couldn't see them. Mm-hmm. And then the models, they were great, they were amazing. So that was a way of bringing them, their message, and Red Tail Moon in front of people that might not have been searching for it, Googling online,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was a great opportunity. And also it was a sustainable fashion show. And what we brought to that, I believe, is the concept of ethical treatment of all animals into the sustainable conversation. Talk about that after, but that was very, very important because that's not always the case. There's a little bit of a disconnect there, mm-hmm. or oversight. And I know that, well, we both know that I've got to now reach out to press and do those pitches and get it going and get it out there, because it's not going to happen if I don't start knocking on more doors, and it's getting, getting to that point. And I have met, people through, some great conversations on Clubhouse, and connecting with some people that I've wanted to connect with, and that will know or now know what I'm about and what Red Tail Moon's about, where if I didn't go ahead and knock on the door, open the door, or open my ears or speak up in these conversations, they, how are they going to know?
Sure. And that's the thing, is then you meet people who can elevate what you're saying and get it out to a bigger audience, which,
yes, that's really important.
It is for sure.
And collaborations. There is a woman who's going to write about not ethical. She's going to write about, she creates vegan handbags, and Red Tail Moon's going to be one of her ethical crushes that she writes about. So that's nice. And more of that. And I would love to collaborate with a large company. I believe what Red Tail Moon's all about, and the quality of the designs and everything about it is worthy of that. And I think that a company whose heart is in the same place will appreciate that. But I do think it has to be about heart and a connection of heart, mm-hmm. because those are the strongest connections,
For sure. And, I feel like Stella McCartney, if you're listening, you should.
Stella, call me.
Right.
Here's my number.
That's right. So you said something about the big disconnect in this is sort of the sustainable conversation with respect to how we treat the animals we share the planet with. Can you talk a little bit about more about what that means and what the importance of it is as far as bringing ethical treatment of all animals to the discussion?
Right. It's very, very important. I just recently, Hermes, they started advertising about launching a new line of bags of created from mushrooms, right? And so this was I saw this on LinkedIn. I already heard about it, and I had to speak up because okay, it's great if somebody is trying new things and it's better for the environment.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. At the same time, at the same time, there are crocodile farms, thousands and thousands and thousands of crocodiles being bred in these swampy looking pools or whatever. I don't want to be pointing my finger at anybody. This is the truth. This is the truth. I'm not making this up. And nobody brought this up in this one discussion. I said, well, this might be great, but at the same time, what about all of the crocodiles? And then they're going to be like skinned and to be somebody's bag. So does this mean that this company has a change of heart? So, which I don't want to speak for somebody because I'm not that company. So, people can make their own judgments and I don't want to be judging anybody. And at the same time, no judgment and speak up for those that can't speak up for themselves. So I needed to speak up for the crocodiles. And so the disconnect, there's, people, not people, but the sustainable conversation, I initially thought, okay, sustainable. People care about the environment and they're talking about the ocean, but they're talking about, plastic and garbage. And wait a minute. What about the fish? What about the marine, the wildlife in the sea? What about the sheep and the goats and the hens and the roosters and and the ducks and the pigs? Doesn't somebody, who, not, I know people do care. Why is that not being brought up in the discussion? And the thing is, sustainable, people are concerned about the environment and global warming. And the truth is, animal agriculture is horrible for the environment. It's not even a little bit. It is extremely horrible. There's excessive CO2 production, methane. Let's see, I have some notes here just to make sure that I pronounce everything correctly. Methane, nitrous oxide production. There is topsoil, the soil they feed. Well, there's also deforestation. There's the water supply. There's the tanneries, if the tanneries, once somebody has leather a cow's skin, there's chemicals in that. They feed the innocent animals, they feed them all kinds of chemicals and hormones to fatten them up, to keep them healthy until they kill them so they can become somebody's meal. And then that's the end of that. So I don't know if I went off on a tangent. We've been brought up. I did not know certain things growing up as a child. I did not know. I became vegetarian pretty much during college. Well, I didn't give up. I gave for MEAT, horrible word. So I'm not eating that anymore. I wasn't vegan then, but something was wrong. I didn't want any part of it. And we've all been brought up with advertising, the cows. How many people growing up or kids grow up thinking, oh, the cow's milk is for its baby. I don't think a child thinks that. I know I didn't think that. I just thought, ignorance or not knowing as a child, a cow produces milk. Growing up, those pyramids, make sure you have your milk, make sure you have your protein, the meat, the this and the that. I could say, if they knew better who created that, shame on them, because that pyramid didn't help anybody at all. It didn't help the animals, it didn't help the environment, and it didn't help people's health. If anything, it harmed all of them. So now that we know better, we can make better choices. So with a sustainable conversation, whether it was at like the fashion show or a group that I was part of, sometimes there were people that just didn't want to hear it. They didn't, and some people didn't care. And some people cared, but they weren't going to change for whatever reason. I'm not here to go ahead and tell somebody, you've got to do this or you've got to do that. I'm all about, live your life, freedom for everybody. And that includes also freedom for the animals. And it means freedom, like cruelty free. Don't cause any harm to anybody. It's like, it's causing harm to them is actually causing harm back to the people because, the environment, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy for them. And yeah, I could go on and on and on. I don't know. Did I go off on a tangent?
It's okay. No, you didn't go off on a tangent. I think that it's such a huge topic, and obviously one that you're so passionate about, and one that I'm passionate about too, that there's so much to cover in a question like that it's not a tangent. It's more like, and then I can plumb a deeper depth and go even further. And talking about this it sometimes feels to me like you're screaming into a void, because
yes,
so many times I've had a similar conversation with someone who tells me, well, we have canine teeth, therefore we must, and I'm like, you know what, quite frankly, those canine, silverback gorillas have much bigger canines than we do, and they're herbivores. So,
there you go.
So no, that's not a valid argument. But at the same time, there is this feeling that I get that there is a marketing machine. And I'm sorry if you're a marketer and you're listening to this. I have nothing against marketers, but I feel like some of the really big companies have marketing machines behind them that make things, that put things out that make you think like doing what they say is the only way,
Yes.
And so that's why when I'm asking you these questions about Red Tail Moon, I'm talking to an entrepreneur, a business owner who has chosen consciously to do something differently. And so then I start to wonder, how does any small business owner go up against such a behemoth of marketing as something like animal agriculture or and we even saying that, honestly, Jeanine, I'm like saying the slaughter of animals for human consumption, So
I know, it's horrible.
So when we look at that, how do you do that? What is your process? I'm probably going to, I have to be very honest, I'm probably going to lose a ton of listeners with this episode, but I think it's so important that we talk about it.
I hope not. I hope, if anything, you get more listeners, because I hope that whoever might not want to hear what we're sharing right now, maybe because it's shared from our hearts, and not to go, it's not intentionally pointing fingers at anybody. It's an awareness. It's an appreciation. It's coming from a bigger space than you or from me. It's coming from a bigger space. It's coming from what needs to be said, what needs to be shared. And it's the people that are not aware yet, or who don't care yet, which I'm listening to, I'm hearing myself now, which is like that perhaps will benefit even more from, their lives will expand, their heart might expand, they may have more, they'll have better health. I mean, unless they eat all those yummy, delicious vegan treats, and that's it, because there's so many options. But
nowadays, yeah.
Yeah, but it's, even on like the energy level, oh God, to think that I ever, it's just like, it's horrifying if I think that, I mean, as a child and not knowing, there was the disconnect, and just nothing looks like what it is. And the supermarkets, it's all like a lie, say it's a cow, or say this is a, just see the eyeballs, hear the screams. That's every single living being, you and I and everybody listening, we all want, it's like this, we all want a safe home, right? That's something else I didn't share. I don't know why it kind of came up now, but it came up. We all want a safe home. We all it's more comfortable to be in peace, right? Than anxiety around or intense things going on. We all like to be with our friends, real friends, somebody who gets us at a deeper level, to share, or just even just to enjoy a breeze on a warm day. Like I've seen the hens, they're friends, and a warm breeze that's it. That's all they need. How beautiful is that? They're no different. They are no different than us. They are no different. They look different. I think some of them are probably cuter than us. They're definitely cuter than me. If I was called, like I brought this up the other day with somebody, even the English language, like, okay, so we're talking about the big companies and advertising and things and marketing. So, maybe it's not just the English language and the terms used, including animals. Oh, it's a pigsty, or, oh, you're a cow, or, oh, don't be a chicken. Like, excuse me, but I don't like this. I don't like that C word either. I like hens and roosters because I associate C with the store. People eat that. But the thing is, if somebody called me a CHICKEN or a hen or a rooster or a pig, I would be honored, because there's no more genuine than that,
For sure. For sure. I actually I have a huge list that I've been keeping for years now of animal metaphors that I've turned into vegan metaphors.
Oh,
so,
I want to hear.
Well, the I don't have a dog in this fight has become I don't have a pie in this contest. So things like that I've gone through, and I've done so many of those. Let's see. Killing two birds with one stone has become petting two cats with one hand.
Oh,
so
love.
so
love.
so I have this huge list because it is about awareness, I think. And that's something that I'd love to talk with you about, is this notion of increasing awareness. Because with these sayings, when I say to someone, well, I don't have a chili in this cook-off, and they go, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, I don't like to say I don't have a horse in this race. I say I don't have a chili in this cook-off, or I don't have a pie in this contest. And so people go, that's really odd. Why do you do that? And then I explain, and they go, I never thought of that. And the horrible one for me is there's more than one way to skin a cat has become there's more than one way to eat a potato. And
I love these.
So that's what I've done. And so the question is, from me to you, is raising awareness. What do we need to do you think? Because I do it I'm a communicator first, and so for me it's language in one way or another, and so I decided to do these vegan metaphors instead of using the animal cruelty ones.
Yeah.
And so what do we do? What does someone who's a creative in this way that you are, what do you do? How do you have those conversations? Is it that you let them see the art and then talk about it? Or is it a push from you? Like, okay, I guess the question I'm asking is it more of a push out to people, or is it more of a pull in for them to get curious and then come to you? How do you do it? How do you have those conversations?
I think it's both.
Okay.
Because sometimes the conversation happens, even if, say, I'm in the grocery store and I'm not wearing a red tail moon shirt, or I'm not at a place speaking about red tail moon. Somebody might be at they're at the checkout, and they're smiling. Most people smile at each other. Well, now we have masks on, so you can't tell they're smiling, but you can tell a little bit from somebody's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And not that I want to have this reaction, but it's very difficult being in the supermarket sometimes. I consciously avoid certain aisles.
Sure.
Or go ahead and, somebody, like at the checkout, somebody says to me, oh, I'm smiling under this mask. And I say, oh, yeah, great. Hope you're having a nice day. And if I happen to see a piece of my friend's body, it's not funny at all. It's kind of horrifying in their cart automatically. And it's unconscious. I'm sure that I've got this, not wanting to offend them, but it offends me, but I
Sure.
don't want somebody else's actions to offend me. But it does. It's, it's like somebody's child. If there was somebody's child in there, they would understand. And then they might say, because this has happened only a couple of times, oh, is there something the matter? And I said, well, I happen to love all animals and take this from heart. That's my part of my friend's body in there. And so, I hope you enjoy your day. I mean, what am I going to say? But
Hmm.
with the shirts, there's a strong message in there. So the reason I did not consciously say, oh, well, Pepper was the first, and she had a message of compassion. And then I wanted more messages of compassion. But I also used Salt's art piece from the beginning, right? From,
Hmm.
with the Adobe user group. And that it kind of came together. It didn't consciously come together. It came together, and it has a life of its own, if you will. And I saw that I had messages of compassion, and people could connect with the animals by reading a message of compassion. The messages don't say, you're a horrible person because you're eating my friend. I'm not going to do that. Who am I to judge? I mean, who am I? I mean, I'm not Miss Whatever. I'm human too. And I didn't know any better before, because I think if I did, I think I would have changed. I would hope I would have changed. And then find artsy pieces that somebody might resonate with because it's artistic looking and it's pretty. And there's underlying intention of connecting with each animal through an art piece as well. And then there's the messages, there's original poetry. And then there's, the bold text is a bold statement, like the ethic L. That's also, text as a bold statement. So there's different ways through this different designs of connecting with a different audience, if you
Hmm.
will.
Hmm.
That's what I hope. That's what I hope. So yeah, so other ways I know that, well, when I'm at the farm where I volunteer, which is a sanctuary now, it was a dairy barn years ago. When people come and visit, sometimes, they they might see, they might come a few times, they might come more than a few times, it might be their first time. So if I'm there and I'm able to, I like to share a little bit about the animal's personality. Definitely have them get eye level. Like, we have this amazing turkey, Liberty. Well, all of the turkeys are amazing. And this little girl was visiting with her parents, and I said, oh, come over here, you can, I'll have you meet, Liberty. And so the little girl, like, she's standing there, but Liberty, of course, is a little bit shorter than a little girl. And I said, and I was already crouched down. I said, you know what? Why don't you all crouch down so we're all at the same level, and then you can look right into her eyes. And then the little girl started going, oh my God, she's such a cutie patootie. I said, you love her, don't you? She goes, yes, yes. I said, I love her. Now, I don't know how happy her parents were. They were going to have whatever for dinner or whatever, but you know what? She connected. And
Right.
so, I mean, in other places, you know what? I feel like I think, like, for you too, it's where everywhere we go, you know?
It's an opportunity for sure, I think. And yet the thing is, for me, like, until I became a vegetarian, and I will save that story for another day. I think I've done a podcast episode about it. I excuse me, I ate a
Yeah.
lot of animals.
Yes.
I have to admit that.
Yeah.
And you know what? I can feel bad about it for only so long, because I think feeling bad about it, for me anyway, it's a waste of energy, because I did it, I accept
Yep.
it, and now I can do better. And I think that's a lot of what this is for me.
Yes.
Accept that you
Yes.
are capable of what you did, resolve to do better, and then act on that resolution. So when you do that, when you yourself resolve to do better, whatever that means for you,
Yeah.
what forms does it take in your daily life?
When I resolve to do better by
Mm-hmm.
me,
Mm-hmm.
well, just like what you said, not to not rehash certain things, because it doesn't change anything, because
Mm-hmm.
our past, I mean, I ate animals as a child and as a teenager. I wish I didn't. I really do wish I didn't, but I did. And I wasn't as conscious of certain things, but then I became, and then I changed. The past is really over for, I mean, yesterday and any day before. Those days are, they could be great memories or not great memories. They're not our today, except for what we choose to bring with us. So I can catch myself in certain thoughts sometimes, or, oh, maybe I should have done this, or I could have done this, or even with red tail melon, it's like, oh, I spent most of my resources, like, excuse my language, but can I curse on here?
Of course.
I was like, fuck, now what am I going to do? I would, because it's like, fuck, because I've had symbols from the universe, if you will, and I've had amazing magical things happen in my life. And I've also put myself kind of into a bit of a challenging temporary predicament, if you will, at times too. So I would say that, what do? I go back to my reason why. Does that make sense?
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, if that's your answer, yes.
I mean, yeah,
I think that's a great answer. I think going back to basics, why am I doing what I'm doing? What are the reasons I'm doing it?
Yeah.
That makes so much sense to me on some very deep levels, because I think that sort of introspection, when you face yourself with honesty and heart, you can't lie to yourself, and we're really
That's
good
right.
at deluding ourselves
Oh,
as a species.
Yes, yeah, I can be good at that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody can. I don't think
Yeah.
there's anybody who has not lied to themselves every once in a while, but in your heart of hearts, you know the truth. So you can lie to yourself only so long before you have to pay the piper, and the piper is you. So at some point you kind of go, well, I'm going to have to face this, whatever this is. And we all have a different path there to that point, So
Yes.
So the question that I have, you mentioned ethical for a little bit ago, and I would love it if you would talk a little bit about that, because the photograph that we took together, I take a little screenshot so that people can see what's going to be on the show coming up. So it's going to go up a little bit later today.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's so exciting. I love having those little pictures that say, look who's going to be on the show. Yay. So talk to me. And you're wearing an Ethic Al shirt. I'd love it if you could talk a little bit about what that is, and what inspired you. What was the moment and the creative spark that got you there?
Oh, sure. So I was sitting in this big chair that I've got, and I've been frustrated or challenged with acceptance, with that disconnect of ethical treatment of all animals being included in this, in quotes, sustainable conversation. Why it's being either disconnected or overlooked. I think like an oversight. I think it might be uncomfortable. People don't want to bring it up. They don't want to stir up whatever it is. And yet it's important for every reason. For me, animals first. So I was sitting on a chair, and I was just, chilling a bit, and I was like, ethical, my eyes closed. I was like, ethical. I saw it. Isolde, I saw a design. My eyes were closed, and I saw through my eyes, I saw this design, Ethic L. So I went straight over to my computer and opened up Illustrator, and I typed up exactly what I saw with the bold font and the scripty part and the accent mark on the L and the last E. And I know that's not the correct accent mark in French, and I'm okay with that. It's artistic license. That's what I saw. That's what came to me. And it was so strong. It was like, look at me, see yourself. When I knew there was something there, I'm like, that's it. That says everything. When Ethic L came to me, I was like, that's it. And it's something that I know needs to be out there more. And so it says the design, Ethic L, a strong and confident woman whose compassionate heart includes love and respect for all animals and Mother Nature.
I love that so much. I need that shirt. I'm going to max out my credit card. I think that's right. That's at the heart of what I believe. So you're speaking directly to my heart when you read that.
Thank
you know, what I really want to honor for a second here, and I think it's so important to do this, is that you listen to your inspirations, that you went oh, I see it, I know it. And you didn't go, nah, never mind. Or, oh, it won't be any good. Or, oh, I'm going to
Right.
discount it. Or, oh, I have to go wash the dishes. You stopped and you
Yes.
went, let me put this down so that I have it, so that I honor that
Yes.
creative spark when it comes. And
Yes.
I'm wondering, do you have just, is it just who you are that happens? Or do you have any sort of creative practice or any sort of, I'm going to
Oh,
build an awareness for this so that I
yes.
can grab it when it comes? What is your process
Well,
there?
I would say that creativity like that comes when it wills, you know? I feel like it's like a spiritual connection. It's like a connection with something much greater than me. And I do have a spiritual practice. I've always been spiritual in the sense that organized religion was never did it for me.
Hmm.
But if I was out in nature, that did it for me. Or being creative, that did it for me. A universal truth, that did it for me. Something that was all inclusive. And so I journal. Most mornings I journal. I think you mentioned Julia Cameron once, the Artist's Way.
Oh,
So I've
yes.
had many books and journals and things. And I remember even once moving from New Jersey back into Manhattan and having like all of these journals in my closet. And I said, oh, I looked at them and I said, oh, you know what? You need to go because I've lived you and it's okay to release you. So, as far as a spiritual practice, I've also recently, this is after all of these creations, but I have very happily noticed more synchronicity in my life this
Hmm.
past month.
Hmm.
I started meditating again. There's a Insight Timer, there's an app that
Oh, I
happened to,
love Insight Timer.
I
Yes.
love it, right? It's great. And they have, you can pay for it, or there's a million meditations that are you don't have to pay for, and it's great. There's a great variety, and yeah, so I really love that. So I've been doing that. So I meditate now. It doesn't have to be hours and hours and hours. A bit in the morning before I get out of bed, I go ahead, make my tea, I journal. And the evening before I go to sleep, just recently, like in the last week, I started listening to something before I go to sleep. I'm always
Hmm.
like asleep before it's there. And I also have Tibetan singing bowls.
I love them.
And aren't they the best?
Yes. Yes. I had a whole set at one point. I love them.
Oh, wow. Yes. And the vibrations from the singing bowls is as if the ocean it's like an ocean, like ocean. I feel like it's an ocean kind of a roar, but it doesn't, not, it's this vibe back and forth and it like sounds much better than that. Not like I sound like God knows what I sound like, but it's a very powerful, energetic vibe that yeah that whenever I bring that into my life, that also increases the creativity, things that come to me visually, word wise, just feel connected and more at peace, if you will, not
Hmm.
scattered or blocked. I feel open. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that notion of being mindful and letting the creativity flow from that space. I've gotten increasingly fascinated by the space between when an idea strikes and when you put
Yes.
words to it. You know, in
Mm.
that instant, you can discount it completely, or you can go, no, no, I'm going to stay open to this and see what happens. And it
Yes.
sounds to me like you have embraced that aspect of you. And I have an entire framework that I talk about with my coaching clients about how we can be agile, innovative, and mindful. And that is what leads to gratitude, and that is what leads to inspiration, and that is what leads to happiness and increased health, all sorts of things. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
so when you do that, when you're in that head and heart space of creating, this is a strange little question. Do you lose
Yeah.
time?
Yes, there is no sense of time at all. I mean, there's hours can go by. I mean,
Mm,
it can uh, anything. There's only a few cases when that happens to lose sense of time. It's being with the animals, it's being in nature, and it's when something creative bursts itself through us, right?
mm-hmm,
Through me.
mm-hmm.
It's like it has a life of its own, and also everything's okay. Everything is okay. It's not a oh, I've got to do this, or oh, shoot, how am I going to do that? Or it's like, it's, it's a knowing, it's a deep knowing that no matter what, everything's okay. Keep on going. It's not about what comes back from the outside. Just keep on going and
Mm-hmm.
trust, because there is a journey that all of us, we all have our own unique journeys. We might all feel love and happiness or sadness and all different things, but we do all have our own unique journey. And it's up to us to honor what's deep inside of us. No matter what, everybody has something to share that is not only valuable to them, but that can actually also help others.
Absolutely. And I feel like what you just said really dovetails beautifully into, and there's an animal metaphor I have to think of a different one now. Uh, because every time I notice myself saying them, I go, "Oh, that's another one you have to change." So the thing about that is that it's going to coincide some with this notion of allowing yourself to be conscious about the contributions that you make, right? So on some level,
Yes.
yes, we all have our own journey, but I think one of the signs of knowing yourself is
Yes.
also choosing how you will participate in this life.
Yes.
So there's something so powerful there to me with what you just said about that, because it really does relate very well to being a conscious participant in your life rather
Yes.
than almost a bystander or an observer. Hold on one second. Oh,
Sure, sure.
I'm gonna have to quiet myself down here because I'm coughing like a
Oh,
maniac here.
maybe get some water.
Oh, I'm drinking water, but sometimes when I don't know if this happens to you, but sometimes when I get really passionate about what I'm
Me too.
saying,
I get that too. I do. I do.
so and I'm very passionate about this subject. I think the notion of living, it's weird to say cruelty free because we don't, I don't think anybody wants to go, or maybe there are some people who do, but I think a lot of us, most of us, don't want to think of ourselves as being cruel. And yet there are times we have to face some pretty hard truths about who we are. And
Yes.
that's not, again, it's not a judgment. It's more
No.
of a fact. Everybody has to face, like you said, we all have contribution we can make, and everybody has to face themselves
Yes.
and their beliefs and their behaviors, and no one else can do it for you on some level.
Yes,
so
it's true.
so, so I'm so grateful that you have been here willing to share your story and your wisdom. And I'd love to ask, oh, I love the bird in the background, that was great.
Oh
um
yeah.
i
That's
i
appropriate.
yeah, I can hear it. That's beautiful. I
Isn't
love it.
that?
Oh, beautiful. I'm a huge fan of bird calls, even though I don't know how to differentiate too many of them, but I think they're beautiful.
I think the
So,
bird's happy that you're here and giving this opportunity to me and to all your listeners to
oh,
share.
that's very sweet. Thank you. My goodness, I love it.
So
Very
we
talkative.
close.
Yeah, well, the bird's going. I've got something to say here too. So,
That's
so,
right.
so, what's next for you and for Red Tail Moon?
What's next for me is getting off my you know what and reaching out to, no, it's true. It's true. It's been like it things, sometimes it's easier to walk forward because there's something there. And
Mm-hmm,
sometimes it's uncomfortable not to walk forward.
mm-hmm,
And I'm at that place where it's uncomfortable not to go ahead and give it everything that it's got,
mm-hmm,
because it does mean everything to me. So I'm planning on, yes, I will do it. Go ahead and send some pitches out to different media
mm-hmm.
and see how I can collaborate with Stella. Are you there, Stella McCartney?
Stella
Or
McCartney, we're calling you.
yes, with Stella or somebody else like that that might have the wisdom or things that I don't know in maybe the retail industry to get it to where it really deserved to be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm open to collaborations. If anybody listening to this has any comments or suggestions or conversation, or wants to know what is so incredibly special about spending quiet time with sheep or not quiet time or anything. Yeah, I'm really open. I'm an open heart and book right now. Yeah.
Well, so there you're leading me beautifully down this particular path. How can someone who's interested in finding out more about Red Tail Moon find you?
Oh, sure. So you can go to, well, I'm on Instagram um, at Red Tail Moon. So Red Tail Moon is spelled RedTaleMoon. Tail like the moon. It is in honor of the red tail hawk. That's a whole other story. But Red Tail Moon on Instagram. Red Tail Moon is also on Facebook. I do not do a lot of things with Facebook, but I guess I probably will. And also redtailmoon@gmail.com and my website, which is www.redtail.moon. And then you get to see the different designs that we spoke about and some pictures of the journey so far. And Clubhouse, I'm at Jeanine Boubli. So that's at, the at symbol, Jeanine, Jeanine, be like boy, OU, be like boy, LI. And there's been some interesting conversations, great conversations on Clubhouse. So connect with me anyway, any way, anywhere. I would love to hear from you.
And I'm going to have to find you on Clubhouse too. So, because I don't think we're connected on there yet. Yeah. And the thing about this, I'm going to put all of these on the show notes, but I find that it's also really good if you say it because people learn in different ways. Yes. So you'll be able to find these links on the show notes, and you'll be able to also, if you heard them and you want to write them down, find Jeanine. Obviously, she's doing amazing, incredible, inspiring, and gorgeous, all at the same time, work on behalf of the animals. And I'm so thrilled that you were on the show, Jeanine. I'm so grateful to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's my absolute honor and pleasure. I have one last question, and if you've listened to the episodes, you know what the question is. So I have one last question that I ask everybody who comes on the show, and it's a silly question, but I find that it yields poignant answers. And the question is this. If you had an airplane that could skywrite anything for the whole world to see, what would you say?
I would say, live from your heart and share that love with all living beings.
That's succinct. I love it.
I love that. It encompasses everything, right?
I think it does. And it's poignant. It's a poignant reminder that every single one of us can do that at any time. That's one thing that I would love to sort of say right now, actually, is that you can change. You can change your mind. You can change your behavior. Believe me, if you knew how much of a hardcore carnivore I wasn't even an omnivore when I was a kid. Yeah. And now I'm a hardcore vegan,
Yes, we can all, yes.
We can all, and this is not about judgment. I'm not going, you must do this, but I am saying that if you decide that you want to look at anything in yourself, in your life, in your work, and make changes, then the first step is becoming aware that you want to make changes, sort of knowing yourself. And for me, that has been The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, writing my little morning pages since 1997. Wow. And also meditation. Like I am such an advocate for finding even 5 minutes a day, it doesn't have to be long, to breathe. To center yourself and to breathe and to just be with yourself. So, and I love, Jeanine, that you said that you do that, because I go, well, of course she does. Yes, that makes total sense. So, so I'm so grateful that you're doing the work you're doing on behalf of the animals. And thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you for last week's episode was Captain Paul Watson. He would not have been on the show without you tagging me and saying, oh, my stars, you have to get in touch with him. So thank you so much for doing that.
Of course, you have the same heart. And also I want to thank Liel, because if Liel did not tag you in a post, she connected you and I.
Yes, she did. That's absolutely right. Yes. That's so fantastic. I love it. Yeah. I love these little relationships that are. It's like a beautiful web. It really is. I love it. Love it.
Gloria started it, so there we go.
So we're doing all this is the shout out portion of the show.
This is a shout out. Yeah. Give a shout out to the peeps.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Jeanine. This has been the Innovative Mindset Podcast. I am Isolde Trachtenberg. If you're enjoying the show, please do me a favor, leave a review on the Apple Podcasts website for the show. Let me know what you're thinking. I would love to hear from you about what you think, what you want the show to be, because in many ways it's driven very much by the people who listen. So until next time, I remind you to listen, learn, laugh, and love a whole lot. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you being here. Please subscribe to the podcast if you're new. And if you like what you're hearing, please review it and rate it and let other people know. And if you'd like to be a sponsor of the show, I'd love to meet you on patreon.com/innovative mindset. I also have lots of exclusive goodies to share just with the show's supporters there. Today's episode was produced by Isolde Trachtenberg and is copyright 2021. As always, please remember this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Past performance does not guarantee future results, although we can always hope. Until next time, keep living in your innovative mindset.